So I do have just a couple of announcements before we get started. We have two exciting events coming up on Thursday. From 5:30 to 6, we will be hosting a gallery gathering in the Joy Light Gallery, centered on 3 figures of Chinese goddesses that are included in the Powerful Forces exhibition. This gathering will be led by docents Christine McCarthy and Pat McQueen, and it promises to be a great time. So please come on out and join us for this one. Immediately following the gallery gathering, we'll host a poetry workshop. And we'll start right here in the auditorium. And this will be with local poet and visual artist Denise Miller. Participants will respond to works in the Legendary Voices exhibition through poetry. No experience is required. You are not required to share your poetry, but you are, of course, very welcome to if you'd like to. So I encourage you to come out for one or for both of these events. We would love to see you all here. Pre-registration is recommended on our website, and there are 2 reasons for this. First, because the poetry workshop in particular, we have limited seating, so in order to make sure you get a spot, you'll want to pre-register for that one. And also, because it is December in Kalamazoo, Michigan, if we do have inclement weather that affects our plans for Thursday, registering online and providing your email address will give us that best chance to get in touch with you directly and let you know what's going on, in addition to, of course, publishing information through our other channels. All right. So you can find more information about these events on our side table over here, and of course on our website as well. It is now my honor to introduce today's speaker, local artist James C. Palmore, who has long been a pillar of the fine and performing arts communities in Kalamazoo, Michigan. He has taught art classes for all ages with the Parks and Recreation Department, retiring in 2003 as the youth program coordinator. He was a co-founder of the Civic Black Theatre and also worked with Gray Gray Theatrical Production in Detroit. He also co-founded the Black Arts and Cultural Center in 1986 and served in many key capacities there for more than 25 years. Over a span of decades, Palmore has lent his considerable talents as an artist, educator, administrator, and thought leader to his work with the Farm Research Cooperative, the NAACP's Afro-Academic Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics program, Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and the Northside Association for Community Development. He has spent much of his lifetime as an advocate for youth and a supporter of healthy human development through the arts. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. His resume is very long and very impressive. Originally commissioned by the Douglas Community Association, Palmore's portrait of jazz singer Abby Lincoln is included in the KIA's exhibition, Legendary Voices. And we are thrilled to have him here sharing his legendary voice with us today. So please join me in welcoming James Palmore.
Thank you all for attending or coming here to hear my thoughts and how some of them manifest via art. Also want to thank Miriam and the KIA staff for coming up with this idea of the ArtBreak. Okay, first I want to talk about Abby Lincoln, her early years and her path of achievement, and how the painting came about. That's on display here, as Miriam mentioned. Let's see what else. Then a bit about my art making. And concluding with my attempt to answer questions some of you might want to ask me. Okay, Abby Lincoln, after a while I'll show you, I'll put the image up. Abby Lincoln, jazz singer, songwriter, actress, and civil rights activist, was known for her phrasing, emotion, her uncompromising, unapologetic style that she sort of fashioned after Billie Holiday was one of her persons that she thought very highly of. At birth, she was born. She was given the name Anna Marie Woldridge on August 6, 1930 in Chicago. She was raised on a farm in Calvin Center, Cass County, Michigan. Her pre-high school years. Of her family of 12 children, Anna was the only one that showed interest in their piano that they had at home. At age 5 or 6, she started picking out melodies she heard to entertain herself. She has stated, "I found serenity in the piano, in music." Her singing career at a young age, performing in school, in church choirs, She came to Kalamazoo and attended Kalamazoo Central High School. There she performed in drama and musical plays and band follies on the tutelage and direction of Howard Shinnery. Between 1923, he worked at Kalamazoo Central between 1923 and 1961, a total of 38 years. And so Mr. Shinnery was at Central when I was there. In 61 was my last year, my senior year. And I remember him walking through the halls and stuff. And of course, the old Kalamazoo Central is named after him. In 19, Anna won her first amateur concert. When she was 22, she moved to California and spent a year in Honolulu, California, Hawaii, where she met Billie Holiday and Louis Armstrong. As a singer at a nightclub with the stage name Gabby Lee. She met Billie Holiday and Louis Armstrong, I'm repeating that. Gabby Lee moved back to California where she met lyricist Bob Russell, who became her manager and gave her the stage name Abby Lincoln. After living in California for many years, Abby moved back to Chicago just as her singing career was beginning to take off. She landed a role as a singer in the 1955 film, The Girl Can't Help It. And I actually saw that movie that year in the back of a automobile at the drive-in theater, movie theater. After the film, she fired her manager and became a recording artist. Also in 1955, she recorded her first album, Abby Lincoln Affair, a story of a girl in love. She moved to New York City in 1957 to pursue her music career by working at the Village Vanguard, a jazz club in Greenwich Village, New York. While performing there, she met Max Roach, a drummer, composer, and bebop creator who she would eventually marry. They recorded the album, That's Him. She performed with Charlie Mingus, Charles Parker, John Coltrane, and other noted musicians. Abby attracted attention as a young woman, not only because of her voice, but because of her physical beauty. early album covers featured her in slinky dresses, and she appeared in a Jane Mansfield movie wearing the dress worn by Marilyn Monroe in the film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. She got her role in one of Jane Mansfield movies, and it said anyone who can fit Marilyn Monroe's dress will have the part. And she did, so she won that part. Max Roach influenced her civil rights activism. Because of it, she turned her back on that image, the slinky dresses and all that, casting herself instead as a civil rights advocate, dressing in African-inspired clothing and hairstyles, and making music with a more political tone. Her collaboration with Max and Oscar Brown Jr. produced the album We Insist Freedom Now Sweet. It was a testament about racism. Explaining her image makeover in 1993, Abby told the Associated Press, "This dress was more important than I was. People in the audience were looking at my exposed breast and the shape of my body, and it didn't have anything to do with the music." She went on and said, I wasn't dreaming, it wasn't a dream of mine to be a star. Max came along at the right time to help me, save me from myself. Otherwise, I would have become an alcoholic and unhappy. In the 1960s, she and Max and other artists performed at fundraisers for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE, also with other civil rights groups. Her music began to reflect injustices Black people experienced in America. The album Straight Ahead is an example. Okay. Abby visited Africa with singer Miriam Makeba, and while there, she received the name Ananita Museka from the Honorable Sukambi, the Minister of Information for Zaire, which is now the Republic of Congo. She said, when he renamed me Museka and had Miriam tell me that it was of love in the form of a maiden, I knew I had come home. She said, and I also cited as an epiphany. It was in 1964 Abby played roles in the films Nothing But a Man and For the Love of Ivy in 1968. By the end of 1960, she and Max divorced. She moved back to California, where she became embraced in art. In the 1970s and 80s, Abby recorded songs for Inner City and Inja, small independent recording labels. In 1989, she was invited by French producer Jean-Philippe Allard to record for Verve Records, France, giving her career a major boost. In 1990, her album, The World is Falling Down, propelled her back to the fame of the 1960s. She continued recording philosophical CDs for Verve, which brought her continuous success. In 2003, Abby also acted in Spike Lee's film Mo Better Blues. She had chart-topping albums with You Gotta Pay the Band, which she recorded with Stan Getz, and The Devil's Got Your Tongue, which she rebuked, some rappers and comics and filmmakers for profiling from the denigration of Black culture. No, not profiling, profiting from the denigration of the Black culture. In 2003, Abby Lincoln received the National Endowment for the Arts NEA Jazz Masters Award. Her last album, Abby Singing Abby, was recorded 2007. Anita Museka Abby Lincoln died August 14th, 2010, at the age of 80. In her Upper West Side apartment in Manhattan, New York. And she had complications from heart surgery, what caused her death. Her music works span 54 years, from 1956 to 2007. I referenced some of this information from the blackpast.org, which is African American history. Abby Lincoln, 1930 to 2010, by Megan Brodsky, April 1st, 2018. And African American Registry. If you Google, not Google her, if you go to YouTube, there's several interviews of her. She's a very, very dynamic person and excellent songwriter. So I encourage you to do some investigation to actually see who this person was. Okay, all right. So this is Rob Backus, and I met Rob, I believe it was like 1975 or so. At the time, he was a member of the band, and this thing here it records, but on the playback, it sometimes failed, right? But I believe the band was either the Co-op band or the Soup band. But Rob he played saxophone, he blew saxophone. And under a similar style, who's very heavily influenced by Archie Shepp, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with this music of Archie Shepp, but very, very abstract. I've been making music myself, and I wanted to play some of it here, but I don't know how to make it play from one song to another yet. I haven't figured that out yet. And so I ran into some other difficulties in trying to get ready for this, that I didn't have time to do that. But anyway, he really liked Archie Shepp. And the other band member I remember was Greg Bestel. who owns Portage Printing, and Greg was the bassist, and the drummer was Lad. I can't remember last name, but anyway, they practiced at my studio. I had a studio in the Brill building, what was called the Brill building, and it's on the northwest corner of the intersection of Edwards and Michigan Avenue, which it's right across the street from the Coney Island hot dog. I had a beautiful place. It was the size of this room here. Didn't know how to use it at the time, but I had it and I loved it while I was there. So Rob and I developed a friendship, and he worked. Oops. Yeah, he worked. He worked with my brother. This is my well, you can tell he's my brother. At the post office, and so they had a lot in common, with the arts and that kind of thing. And so Rob also he created a radio program called Bright Moments that aired on Western WIDR, which is 89.1 FM on Saturdays, and his focus was on straight up, we call it straight up jazz. At the time, there's a lot of fusion jazz. There's other brands of jazz, but he was with the real deal, so to speak. And one evening or one time, he played some of Abbie Lincoln's music, and he got lots of phone calls and saying, "Who is this? What? She's from Kalamazoo?" Yeah, and so with that, he decided that he needed to try and make contact with her and see if she would do an interview, which she did agreed to do that. And it was a live, I think the first one may not have been a live interview. I think she did a couple of them. One of them wound up being a live interview. And from there, he came up with the idea. He says, he called me, James, would you be interested in doing a portrait of Abbie Lincoln? If I'm going to apply for a grant through the Arts Council, and if I receive it, would you be interested? And then the idea is that I would do the painting. My brother Joe, he's a photographer, would photograph that and send the photograph to Abbie Lincoln. And she agreed to all of this. So I did the painting and had the unveiling of it at the Douglas. And the director was Rick Frazier, was the director at the time. And shortly afterwards, I got word that Abbie was going to perform in Detroit at the Cheyne Park, which is like a outdoor amphitheater similar. And so I go there and thinking that I would like to meet her, right? So I go there and listen to, and her musicians are, I've heard her twice now in live concerts, are really, really excellent. And their chemistry is phenomenal. And so after the concert, I wait in line. I'm standing there, and there's a small entry. There's a space, an area about this wide, that she used to come through because there's other people there waiting to meet her as well. And so I kind of inched myself up there and forced myself to throw out my hand. I'm James Palmore. I did a painting of you and da-da-da from Kalamazoo. And she sort of looked at me and said, okay. Or it's like, and she sort of walked past me. She's a real nice lady, though. She really is. She just didn't know who I was, you know. Anyway. So maybe, I don't know, I think it was maybe 2 years later. I think, 1988. So 85 did the painting, 88. She actually, because of the interest that Rob, his excellent job of making Kalamazooan aware of her, they arranged for her to have a concert at KVCC out in Oshkosh, the campus there. So I went to that, and it was really, really nice. And then there was a reception afterwards at the Douglas Community Center Association. And so I had a chance to actually meet her in person. And then after that, Rob told me that he was talking to her, and she said that she felt bad that she didn't give me more time. So anyway, that's and the Douglas wanted to focus more on Frederick Douglass at the Douglas community, at the center there. So my painting was there, and there's a bunch of other stuff that had anything to do directly with Frederick Douglass. And so they made the decision that to donate the painting to KIA. So that's how all that came to be. All right, so now I'm going to show you, I'm going to start out with some images and stuff that I've created. And I think at the beginning is more of stuff that I've been playing around with. So I'm going to refer to these as notes, and they're not necessarily finished. And a lot of my work isn't finished because I'll come back and mix it with something else. So it's if I have a show or something, then I have to say finish something to show it. I had a piece in October here, a show. It was done well enough or at a stage where I could show it, but in my mind, it still wasn't done. So in other works that I have that's similar to that, and I refer to them in my little title card up there, my vision and notes. And so some of these are notes. So that's this is I call those bubble paintings, and I came up with this idea of using that is I paint signs, and I had this commission to do a really large, like a 20-foot sign, and I needed to I went and got checked out an opaque projector from the Kalamazoo Public Library, and in the projector there's a screen. It's a grid that it's for ventilation. And when I turned it on, it projected an image as large as the screen, the whole screen, not just my little painting there, but that whole thing. It was huge, right? It had all these little bubbles up there, and my brain says, what if there's something else in here? So I put, instead of the thing that my lettering, I put it under, anyway, I placed it in a way where it was under the screen, under the circles, the village, and each one of those circles, there were color and shape and stuff. At the time, I didn't have a camera, and so I didn't take a picture of it. So I kind of put it up there. And then one day, rewound, let's play this through. I came across an airbrush. A person was painting. We were recycling motorcycles, refurbishing them and that stuff, and then decorating them. And at the time, I was a motorcycle rider. I rode with the Outriders, all these rogues. I chopped my motorcycle, had a long front end sticking out and all that kind of stuff, and I painted. I decorated it, made it to a chopper. And so I watched this guy, he was painting an airbrush. I said, oh, So I went and bought an airbrush and I started painting with it. And so my first attempt was with the airbrush. I've got those kind of, using that technique, that style. And then, so this is during the late 60s and early 70s. Then in 80, consumers became, Photoshop came on the scene. The whole digital world sort of opened up. I view everything pre-85, 1985 as analog, and forward is digital. And this is an opinion that we're using analog methods and ideas to solve digital problems. And that's it's not working out right, in my opinion. So anyway, so this is a digitally created using the bubbles superimposed over another image. So I have a lot of those going on. Oops, going too fast. It won't go back. Let's see if this will go back. Okay, here we go. There. All right, so I'm just going to go through those. So this is experimenting, exploring. And my definition of art is the synthesis of thoughts, dreams, feelings, manifests through the manipulation of a variety of materials, sound, motion, and odor or scent. So that definition has given me license to use any and everything to compose it into what could be a finished piece. So I'm just going to go through these, and so you can see where and these are, all this is a manifestation of who I am. And who I am is what I observe. Basically, observe and what internalize And through some of the conditioning, because we've all been conditioned from a baby, don't do this, don't do that, this, we do this, culture, and all this. So we were shaped by, we didn't have, it wasn't all our own doing. So I'm going too fast? I'm going too fast? Okay. And I think I have probably, I'm going to estimate, I probably got 2,000 of these things. I take probably 5 to 10 or more photographs every day using my cell phone. These are all cell phone as my camera. And then I superimpose other stuff in them. And this is, I'm doing called spacescapes. So my imaginary that's to create contrast. Throwing that in there. This, the downtown, what is it, DK, Downtown Development Incorporated was having a forum, and they asked them, got hold of some artists and to create some centerpieces for the tables. And I misunderstood what they wanted, and so I created a bunch of stuff that wasn't, I don't know if they use it or not, but I sculpted that little bird there, and there's just 3 sides to that. And this one, this is digital stuff, circuitry board that's on that. And I don't know if anybody wanted to sit and eat dinner with that sitting on their table. And so those are the other 2 sides of that. And I was after dinner, when, after you wash your mouth and do all that, and your napkin is sitting on the table, and it was a cloth. Originally, the first time was a cloth table napkin, and the table was dark. It was I think it was kind of it wasn't a real bright place, but anyway, the contrast of that white napkin on the table. This is how it happens to me. Something said, "Take your camera out." So I took my camera and I photographed that napkin. And so now I've photographed a lot of napkins. And I tried to, so I bought a whole package, right? Those dinner ones, and started folding them and doing this kind of thing. And none of it worked. It didn't work. So it's when I'm not thinking about it, or that it just happened to be, that's the one that clicks in my head. So that piece, oops, I did it again. Okay. So I experiment a lot. This is basically a white plate on my scanner with some ball bearings. Put the ball bearing on there, put the white plate on top of it, scan it in. I have other photographs that on the right-hand side there's some trees back there. I got other images so you can see a little bit more. So I'll take something like this and then I'll put something else in it. So this is a straight up photograph. This is my goddaughter. This was taken during COVID. She wanted to do a photo shoot thing. So we went to, where is it? New Buffalo. Yeah, New Buffalo. Where there's a casino or something. Where the casino, there's wherever that is over in that area. We went there. And so anyway, I wound up taking that photograph of her. And I have what I call sidewalk art, and it's like it's a part of a ongoing. I guess generally I don't pursue series doing, but over time, because I'll do an airbrush and it'll be 8-10 years, then I'll do another one. And then I'll do something else. But if you put them all together, then you say, oh, this is the airbrush series, this is this series. But in my head, they were not series. But I'm doing something on a category, what you don't see while driving a Lexus. And this is something you would not pay attention to while you're driving. You might run over something. So there's a lot of those in there. And so this is another image. What I do is each canvas or board, whatever my straight that I'm going to paint on, I have my camera next to me, and I'll start gessoing, painting it over, the cover. And then as I'm doing that, I'll see something, I'll pull out my camera, take a picture of it. So this happened to be where I got some white gesso that's going on there, but I got some black gesso that's nearby. Then it says, what if I da-da-da? So I did a little bit, let's put it, and then start, oh, okay. So I'm taking photographs all the time. I'm walking in my studio and there's a bunch of stuff there. Oh, okay, take a picture of it. Sometime I'll take out my gloss medium and I'll glue stuff together right there, right on the spot. That could be a piece, or I take that and then add it into something else. So these are cell phone. This is a cell phone of stuff that I think it's paper, bunch of paper that I had, right? Folded and did that kind of stuff. So it wasn't premeditated. So a lot of what I do is what my brain is not big enough to come up with all this stuff. But I recognize something when I see it, because it tells me, say, I see stuff on the sidewalk and I'm taking so many of them, I try to walk past it. One, I go as far as that table and I gotta go back. Because you don't know, right? You don't know the genius until it's born. You don't know, you can't say, oh, it's going to be a genius, or I'm just using that as a metaphor, So I'm very connected, involved with nature, even though we as humans are nature too. We're part of it. So I'm very interested in that, and I've been observing for a long time now, and I wanted to show some of the connection I have with the other creatures that us humans share the planet with. And we, because of the way we perceive, we deem ourselves superior over the others and more intelligent and all that. But my observation says, no, I've watched them do things that I do not believe is instinctual, or that it's, what do you call it, that there's no reasoning or decision-making involved. If you pay attention closely, I don't believe they're making decisions based on the condition of situation that's present. I share a studio with a friend of mine in Chicago, Jennifer Hodges. And when we first opened the studio, I had to develop a relationship with the studio, with the space. And so when I'm there, I don't make art there the way I do with my studio here. And so the first images, the first things that I made there was all black and white. And this is one of them. And this is another one. There's a lot of the female anatomy is all over that painting. I don't know if you see it or not, but it's there. The lady's walking that way, and this guy up at the top, he's going in the same direction. And I don't know if they're aware of each other or not, but the way the path is going that she's on, eventually they might make contact with each other. And this is my goddaughter. She came one day, and that was her hairstyle. And so I pull out my camera. But she started out, I've been photographing her since she was born. And she's a natural model. Matter of fact, when she was 5, at one of these talent, you know how they have these talent things for kids, or for, potential models. So she goes there, and they're very, very interested in her. And a few days later, they call her mom, and her mom was excited and wanted to do it. And she says, I'm just a little girl. I can't do this. Anyway, when she was 3 and 5, she watched Perry Mason and stuff like that. Those are the kind of TV programs she watched. And when she was 5, she watched this movie, and she told me the plot. I asked her about the movie. She told me the whole plot and everything. And she's a songwriter, lyricist, beautiful lyrics that she writes and sings. And she takes good photographs. She's a good model. There's some of the art that I put it, I want to put it in the family of wabi-sabi art. And it's like this randomness, what you don't plan, you just go, and what you come across, then that's what you use. This is nature at work, but using this eye, what we have as far as composition. So that's got all that stuff in there, the focus and variety, unity, it's all the elements. I mean, principles of art is in there. But they say, some people say, it's just little twigs and that. But it's the design that it makes, and it's kind of soothing, in my opinion. And sometime I'm taking these and using the parameter of what art is, what it's good composition is, what this and that is. There'll be a stone, there'll be something that very high contrast. But as far as the wabi-sabi goes, it's there what you see. So if I take it out, then I'm editing. And in my opinion, the first generation of creativity is the purest, the most honest and purest. Then after that, each step that you do to change that is editing. And then it goes and it starts to become tainted, in my opinion. And now these are early stuff. I don't know, some of you might have seen some of this stuff. This goes way back. It's got the date on there, year 74. The other thing I became aware of, did a lot of thinking here back in January, the past year and a half. One of them is that every book that we have read, every speech that we've heard, every conversation that we've engaged has been edited. And give you an example. Say you're an archaeologist and you want to go to some place and do a dig, and it's going to cost, you got a crew that you're going to take with you, and you got to have some funds. So you do a fundraiser, or you find an investor. So this person put up the money, and you go and you do this research, and you're writing down every detail because you're searching for the truth and the facts. So once you're done, your manuscript is 2,000 pages. And they say, well, nobody's going to reach 2,000 pages. You got to edit this down. And plus, grammatically, it has to be correct. In my experience with all the editing that people have done for me, I lose my personality in the editing. It's grammatically correct, but my thoughts have, the way I was thinking has changed. So anyway, so they narrow down to, say, 400 pages. And so there's how many? There's 1,500 pages of information that's nobody's ever going to come across, right? Then once they do that, then it's ready for printing, but the investor has to see it first. The investor looks at it and says, oh no, we can't have that in there. So that's out. So once it's published, what we're getting is just a glimpse of what actually there, but we're making life-changing decisions based on edited information. And the editor, they give you what you want the person to know, or you think they can perceive. So that happens in our conversations with each other. We don't tell everybody all the detail because the person says, or they fall asleep or whatever. But there's some critical information that's being left out. That last piece and this piece here, during when we formed the Black Arts and Cultural Center, because of my role in that, for about 4 years, I've stopped making art. And then as things got smoothing going around, and then with our program, and Jane knows about our Parks and Recreation program. She coordinated with us with a bunch of stuff and know how busy we were, right? And so one day I went to make some art, and I heard all this noise. And the noise is, what would they think? What people think? How would they? And I never had that before up until that point. And so it was so bad I couldn't make any art. So the next about 10 days, I would come to the studio, stand in front of the canvas I had, and I said, well, let me talk to the ancestors, because I'm doing wanted to do some mixed media assemblage kind of stuff like those are. And the ancestors, they use all kinds of materials and stuff, buttons and all this kind of thing from people whoever was colonizing at the time. And so I meditated there, half hour or so for about 10 days in a row, asking for permission to use that, because my purpose was different than what their purpose was. It was more ceremonial. It wasn't decorative, necessarily having stuff on a wall. And after a while, I came back and I didn't hear a voice that says it's okay or anything, but I felt like it was okay because I did ask for permission. And then I did 8 of those, like one after the other. I got really busy again at work, came back after those, after about a month, I came back to make art again, and it was gone. And I'm still struggling with that noise. What will they think? And so this is a 8-foot by 8-foot piece here. There's freedom of expression. There's people who don't want you to just think your mind. Oops. It's not okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm hitting the wrong button. Okay. Go back. All right. So that, don't let that rain touch my hair. And all that black stuff underneath that's the straightening comb, where black women would call it a hot comb, to straighten their hair so it would be silky like the blonde hair at the bottom. I had dated this lady, let's go to the hot tub. No, can't go to the hot tub. And sometime, like in the office, it start raining. Summertime, get kind of antsy because of the hair. If you have, it'll mess up your hair. So in my early work, I did a lot of temptation. And the easiest one is the apple to illustrate, but we're all confronted with temptation constantly. And this is, roadkill. And that's 7 feet wide. It's on a door, actually. It's like a 36-inch door. And so back then, it's this whole issue of using guns to solve problems. She's saying, well, yeah, oh, you can see the title, that's the title. It's like in some relationship, I heard this couple, they had been married something like 70 years, 60, 70 years. And the interviewer asked them, well, how do you manage to do that? And they stated that we fell in and out of love several times. But when we were not in love, we stayed in the same space. And being in the same space allowed us to fall in love again. You comb in the hair, oh, you know, it sparks some memory. The flame goes up again, right? But if you separate because you have some difficulties, then the chance of you coming back is, you know, slim. So anyway, that's what this piece was about. And I had some friends of mine write poems. They agreed to write some poems, and I put their poems in the bottles. So they're kind of in there. And the mystery is what's inside that book, because the book is sealed. So this story is, you know, we don't know what's in there. So I started doing these smaller pieces because I was really focused on doing large pieces. And then I come to realize, somebody asked me, do you ever do any smaller pieces? And I said, well, you know, not everybody can have a 4 by 6 foot painting. You know, so I was in a show in Chicago that after that, I started doing some smaller stuff. And I still do. I use a lot of drywall screws. This is in a show, right now it's in a show in Battle Creek. That piece is. Oh, show that one again. And that's Tricia again, my daughter. She did that drawing at that same age, at the same time. And so I just kind of put them together. And this is about relationships. And one of the problems is that we see these images, you know, on the screen. Generally on the screen, money is never an issue in the main subject. If Sally is sick in Hawaii, the next scene, they're in Hawaii. There's never a discussion of how much it's going to cost or this or that and all that. And so a lot of people, they look at that as a role model of what to be and how you should behave. And they have that expectation. And that's the other thing about so anyway, that's what that's about, relationships.
having expectations that others can't meet. And we place expectations on everybody. Then what do you do with that when that expectation is not met? So one of the things that people do is they get angry or get upset in some way or another. And sometimes we'll want to show them how to feel. If we're supposed to be there at 6:30 and you get there at 7, so next time I'm intentionally going to be late to show you how it feels. Or some other form of revenge. So all these things that because we place expectation on people, and that expectation is based on what we want. So that's my good friend Jana. She lives in Albuquerque now, but that's a 8-foot wide painting. These are all, as you can see, all these are airbrush. That's the temptation thing again. And those are, I just showed those in that show at VACC. In that piece, she has her arm back like but there's no binding, and so it's her captivity or what it's all in her mind. That piece is, I think that's 9 feet. That piece is 9 feet wide, 7 by 9 feet. And that one is 7 tall. I think it's 6 wide. And that's an acrylic painting. That's in a show in Battle Creek. And my brother, he created this sort of like Zen garden. And this is one, he has several waterfalls and ponds and that kind of thing. And this is some rocks, a scene that I painted from. I actually took a photograph, but then made a painting of the photograph. And the guy with the big boots on in the center there, that's me. And the 2 young ladies are my cousins, and my brother, my youngest brother's on the left-hand side. And I was intrigued by this because I don't know what it is that she has on her head, because the way the exposure of the photograph, there should be some features in her face, right? But the way her head is turned, it's not like, anyway, it's not adding up. So I don't know what that is. so I placed her, anyway, I did that painting of that. And this painting here, so I mainly wanted to do this painting. There's a bunch of us, we meet and have lunch together. And Chief Yeshua, he came, that's the way he was dressed. And I saw that, and I was, again, that thing went off in my brain. So I asked him if I could do a photograph of him. I took the photograph of him. And then I asked him if I could, so I did a photo shoot of him. I shot probably near equivalent of 2 rolls of film, maybe 60, 70 images of him. And I picked that one out to do this painting. And it's 4x6 and it's on hardboard. And when I first started painting it, I had a full palette, going from white, yellow, orange, guan, red, to the whole thing. It's about 15 colors that was on my palette. And it's a big painting, so I started out with a big brush. I'm using big brushes. And so I'm painting. 2 days go by, 3 days, 4 days go by, and I'm not making any progress. So I come in and I'm painting, and the same thing has happened. And I said, okay, you do it then. And this is a fact. What happened is I got rid of that palette, and I put burnt umber, became my red, and yellow ochre, my yellow, and I think I used ultramarine blue for my blue. So that's my primaries, and then I use burnt umber and titanium white. So I had a palette of 5 colors. And I went over and picked up a number 2 filbert, that wide, like 1/4 of an inch wide, less than 1/4 inch wide. And that's how I did the painting. And it just, from there it flowed. It's like, this has happened several times now, and I'm learning to understand what that is to give up whatever it is. That preconceived thing is maybe not the thing. So it's like surrendering. And so, again, so in the original painting, there's a spider that's in this painting. There's a waterfall thing like that. So in my a lot of my work, I'm putting insects in my paintings. I don't do airbrush anymore because of here. When I was 6 months, a young lady dropped me, and I landed on my nose and broke the cartilage. So this never developed. And so when I put the mask on, respirator on, to airbrush, and inside the studio, I got a big old vent thing there. I got a blower to suck all this out, but I still smell it or taste it a little bit. So I decided to do this airbrush painting outdoors. And as I'm painting, I always have my camera here. So various insects would come and land to see what I'm doing. Some of them are bored, like dragonflies. They stay there, boop, and then they're gone. Some of this. But this one fly, I think did I go back too far? This fly came and stayed there. Let me get right up on him with my camera, and he just stayed there and walked all over the painting. right? And so that's a relief that's over at the Douglas. And this is at Dr. Ray at the Farm Research Cooperative in Bloomingdale. Is where I did that painting. So I'm painting on that night. I went home to my studio. And when I went to go in, a spider had built a web going all the way across like this. And I broke it. And the next night, I came back. He did the same thing, and I broke it again. The third night, I came back, and it was an arch. It was an arch like that. And then in the corner this time, he had a mate, and they had rolled a little ball up and that. So that told me something. And so I started incorporating them in in some of my work. And one time I'm doing a sign. I'm up as high as up to the ceiling. I'm painting this sign up there, painting. And this praying mantis, usually I always see them on the ground, but he's up there. He comes, he parks there, and he sort of looks at me. His head turned. You know how they hit. He sat there and watched me for a long time. So I incorporate them. Those mourning doves, it was out at the farm. I came out, there's a silo there, and they were up there. And so I said, oh, let me do something with the mourning doves. So I placed them on that. And those guys in the back there's a guy with the horse and that. This is near the farm on Bloomingdale, but the guy is from a rodeo I took in Pembroke, Illinois, and superimposed him in there. And the horse and the guy, the night there, was at the Renaissance Festival, and I think it was Howe. And the other character too was there. And the sunset, the cloudy day was foggy when I was coming from Bloomingdale one morning. The church is from Chicago. It's a woman's legs. I don't know if you see that with her dress. The background is Chicago. The blinds and the branches it's my studio. It's almost like being in a forest when you walk in my studio, because I got a lot of tree branches and stuff hanging from the ceiling. Intelligentsia, right? Yeah. This is a section of a painting that I'm still working on. It's the one. It's 7 feet and about 9 feet wide. I haven't painted on it in a while. Those mannequins. Labor displacement. Generative AI. Um, you can't see it. It's hard to see because I intend for this to be a large piece, but there's a lady in the brown area there. She's walking, and on the other side, there's that knight. Oh, I got a marker. I got a thing here. There's a knight. There's a lady. The whole temptation kind of thing again with that apple over there on the right-hand side. And this is all this. This is Dr. A's collection out in Bloomingdale. He was a microbiologist, and
This supposed to be Robert Johnson.
that's my cousin actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my cousin. This, oops, in the back, that's my grandmother, my brother, and my cousin. In Hope, Arkansas. So you guys didn't know I was a knight at one point, did you? There's a knight. I did this because of that piece of metal looked like somebody is praying over there. That's Albuquerque, Sandias Mountains range. This is near, Wayland.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll be right back.
Okay, all right, John. This real phenomenal artist, Jane Watkins, real good friend of mine. And this Jim Maxwell had played a real role in my art career. Is I was me and my brother was living in a house, had an apartment in a house, and Jim was painting the house. We came out one day and he was painting, so we get to talking. He's introduced ourselves. He's an artist, he's a printmaker and stuff, and I'm a painter and that. And he asked me, he says, "Oh, there's another artist too. That's this is over on Elm Street, I think, yeah." And down a couple of houses down, there's another artist. He was a sculptor, and he says, "I'll introduce you to him." So he goes and introduced me to him. It was Jim Jackson. I said, "Oh, this is the guy that's been making all this noise at 2 in the morning." And so Jim Maxwell, he both and I've been following politics and all this stuff since I was probably 11 years old. And the same thing with him. So he's reading the paper and he sees advertised, it says a loft space, good for artists. And so we go and look, and it's the Brill building. And Jim Powell, Jungle, by the name of Jungle, if any of you knew Jungle, my brother, Jim Jackson, I were to rent the space. And so we rent the space, and at that time, there wasn't any loft dwellers here. Another friend of mine, Tim Brostrom, had the 4th floor. And so we signed the lease to lease the space, but my brother never showed up, Jim Jackson never showed up, and Jungle never showed up. So I had the space by myself, and Jim Maxwell, he took the space next to it. And after a while, he left, he moved to Florida, and then Terry Bullard with the Kalamazoo Ballet Company moved in next door. And from there, being a male, "Hey, why don't you come and can you dance with us?" So I danced with the Kalamazoo Ballet Company for one season. So and there's a couple other people that he introduced me to. Anyways, I miss him a lot. I went, this is a tree that was in Muskegon Cemetery. And another photographer friend of mine, we were out photographing, and she was still shooting, and I had done all that I saw and everything. So I'm going to wait for her. I sat down on this almost like a bench, and I leaned back and I see this. And so I took my camera out and took it. And I actually made a large one of that. Now, it's one of those, some more of those space stuff. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much. So if there are any questions.